Arc debate is a hot topic amongst One Piece fans. The conversations fall into what makes a good arc, what's considered a setup arc, what a bad arc looks like, what's important within an arc, and the discussions are never ending if I'm to be honest. There will always be arcs that the majority like more than others, for different reasons of course, but it is how it is. One Piece is exceptionally good at world building with the introduction of new arcs. As we get the culture and history of the island within said arc dished out to us in bits and pieces the more we watch or read. Sometimes it's extremely subtle, and sometimes it's on the nose. But the point is, you need to be an exceptionally good fantasy writer for this kind of world building. After all, environments in an adventure fantasy series are extremely important. Otherwise, one is unable to be sucked into the world our protagonists are exploring, essentially making it so we are traveling with them. There is no end to the fantasy and ingenuity of Oda's landscapes and worlds. One Piece being a mixing pot of hundreds of different inspirations all thrown into a single series. Even the arcs hailed as bad have incredible designs within the islands. The in-depth ideas going unnoticed only by the impatient eye. And this, my dear friends, is where we get to the main topic of this video. One Piece's third overall major arc in the series, and second major arc on the Grand Line. This arc being the one and only Skypiea. Skypiea is, for whatever reason, controversial, not due to any insensitive writing, nor due to any kind of real issue at the time, but because a lot of people just didn't like it. I know many of you are probably wondering what I'm talking about, but trust me, if you've been in the fandom space of this series, you'd have seen the horrors I've seen in regards to Skypiea as an arc. It's right next to the Long Ring Longland arc in terms of negative attention. But I think I've done my job in validating Long Ring Longland with my Zoro and Sanji video, so I feel no need to talk about that. Also, if I have to say Long Ring Longland one more time, I am going to get violent. Skypiea, however, sweet Skypiea, just gets the most arse of treatments. I have genuinely met people who thought the entirety of Skypiea was a filler arc, not because that's what they decided, but because others told them that was the case. So, they skipped it. Which is an honest-to-goodness tragedy, but by no means their fault. All in all, skipping an arc in One Piece is honestly the strangest thing to me. I think we need to remember that One Piece's story is linear. There's reasons we're seeing each of these islands within this world, and you miss a lot by ignoring an entire arc. Because it's not just the world we're experiencing, it's also the characters we're exploring and gaining a better insight of. Robin is the perfect example of this. Skypiea is her first adventure with the Straw Hats, which I personally believe is something extremely important to Robin's and the Straw Hat story. In saying that, there seems to be the argument that Skypiea doesn't add anything, not to One Piece's overall story anyways, so it's fine to skip it. But this is blatantly wrong. There's plenty in Skypiea that loops back around within the series, such as Sanji being from the North Blue, later discovered to be an extremely important detail of his character, Noland being introduced, later shown to have been a real explorer that the Dressrosa Tontara tribe hailed as a savior, Luffy's immunity to electricity. This was more of a smaller detail that came back around in Wano, Blackbeard being introduced, and I'm sure I don't even need to say why this was important. Doflamingo also being introduced alongside his Jolly Roger. This goes hand in hand with Bellamy and his loyalty towards the Doffy pirates in the future. Robin discovering a poneglyph in Skypiea, with Roger's own writing carved into the poneglyph. Later looped back around in Wano as we see Roger's travels and why he could read poneglyphs in the first place. And a lot more regarding gods and fruits that I don't want to fully disclose for spoiler reasons. But case in point, Skypiea certainly hit a lot of beats that'd be followed up in the future. Mainly Dressrosa ones, interestingly enough. However, I am going to say something controversial in itself in regards to Skypiea, and this may be damn confusing, but hear me out. Sometimes, One Piece arcs don't have to directly contribute to the ongoing plot, and Skypiea's important points were not plot-based. What could that possibly mean? I'll tell you, and I'll tell you right after this sponsor. This video is sponsored by Tokyo Treats and Sakura Co. That's right, baby, I've got some more yummy box treats to show you, and this time it's cherry blossom season, so it's pink, pink, pink. If you don't know what this is, Tokyo Treats is a monthly pop Japanese snack box, where you will get up to 20 of the latest, most exclusive limited edition and seasonal flavored Japanese snacks. This time I have the April box, and I've been sent to the floor for this one because I honestly just like it down here. These boxes are pretty big and very generous with their packing. Once more, we have a new Kit Kat flavor, and it's one of my favorites. Peach. Japan does peach like no one else, and these Kit Kats slapped. My other favorite snacks were the premium Ghana truffle and the strawberry king cider. Just a perfect mix of refreshing and sweet. And next we have Sakura Co, who are a monthly authentic Japanese snack subscription box. Sakura Co supports local Japanese snack makers with each box they send out, and they all come with 20 traditional, authentic and artisan Japanese snacks, including Japanese teas and a special Japanese tableware. The tableware for this one is adorable, a small plate decorated with cherry blossom patterns. This is probably my favorite tableware yet. My favorite snacks from this box was the Sakura Warabi Mochi, because it was nothing like I'd ever seen before but tasted really fresh. And the Sakura Mochi. This Sakura flavor is so refreshing and probably something I've become addicted to. You can learn more about these snacks as well as allergen information from the booklets you receive. So it's tasty and safe for everyone. These boxes are well packaged and are packed with a lot of love, and I'm enjoying every single one I get. If you're a snack lover yourself, I highly encourage you to try these monthly snack boxes out and get your own little slice of the sweet side of Japan, all from the comfort of your own home. If you want to give it a try, don't forget to use my code to get $5 off your first box. Be sure to check the links below. And thank you so much Tokyo Treat and Sakura Co for sponsoring this video. And now it's time to dig into Skypiea. Let's deconstruct Skypiea before really getting into the grit of what I'm talking about here. I personally believe Skypiea is an extremely solid arc. It somewhat deviates from One Piece's usual formula, which is Zoro and Sanji take on big bads 2 and 3, while Luffy takes on the number 1. And who knows, maybe that's why a lot of people didn't feel for it. But in that same way, Whole Cake Island and Punk Hazard also did the same in regards to formula deviation. And Skypiea really brought forward the idea that One Piece isn't as it seems. It began subtly pushing that One Piece will be a series that can do whatever it wants, and we will not be limited to broken kingdoms with grieving princesses, although that does happen a lot. Either way, Skypiea completely jumped to newer themes and questions that completely deviated from the ones presented in Alabasta. I mean, it even somewhat starts with Luffy asking if there's a god. If that's not a way to kickstart a completely buck-wild arc, I don't know what is. But the themes we're shown in Skypiea are extremely heavy, Enel's dictatorship being the on-the-nose one. But I think a very heavy theme that isn't really discussed here is the topic of colonization. Because really, a dictatorship and the colonization of a people go hand in hand. From the get-go, we're shown extremely strange signs. There is no shock of pirates reaching the clouds. You must pay to enter Skypiea as an island and country. There's a sacred land that looks nothing like the rest of Skypiea that no one can touch. Connis has a hospitality that's revealed to be a fear of their fake god, and the immediate attack of the Straw Hats the second they reach this sea of clouds. It's beautiful on the surface, filled with booming life and thriving citizens. But under the shiny surface is a country of terrified citizens, all under complete control against their own wills. Skypiea is a land that's a textbook fantasy, one everyone was excited to reach. But it becomes more chilling the more we discover. One of the most horrifying discoveries is innocent citizens being immediately executed if they don't follow the fake god's regime. All of them knowing their life is caged and watched by the all-seeing eye that is Enel and his priests. And in turn, this puts the citizens against each other, as no one wants to risk their life for the smallest of mistakes or any taboo associations. Every single person within Skypiea is under Enel's thumb, and all anyone can do is execute his orders in hopes of staying alive. And if that weren't enough, we're then introduced to the Shandia tribe, and this is where the real struggles of Skypiea are presented. Skypiea is a battle of the skies, and the Shandia tribe have fought for literal centuries to get their homeland back. As we were told, the land of Jaya was lifted into the skies by mystical means, and the Sky People claimed that land as their own, forcing a rule that it must be untouched and unable to be lived on. In the skies of One Piece, we witness a genocide. The Shandia tribe forced from their land and wiped out by the hundreds of thousands to take over Jaya. The current day citizens do not overall agree with such an idea, but they are unable to speak out due to the dictator that resides over them. There's even a stunning line from the previous god of Skypiea, Ganful, questioning whether or not they're the good guys doing the right thing in keeping the Shandia tribe from Jaya.
悪は我々ではなかったのか。シャンディアの戦士たち、彼らが神の島アッパーヤードを襲うのはただ祖先が住んでいた故郷を取り返そうとしているだけ。
And in the end, Ganful decides what they'd done to the Shandia tribe was inhumane, but he was forcefully taken out of power before any wrongs could be set right. The Straw Hats even have a line where they straight up say the Skypiea people were awful for what they'd done, which is really in your face when you think about these themes. So, with no help or support, the Shandia tribe fight for hundreds of years to get their home back, to the point some of the modern Shandias begin to wonder what they're fighting for. They've lost a sense of their home and their land, not being accepted within those of the Skypiea people, and also being unable to live on their actual home due to the Skypiea people. For Wiper, the current leader of Shandia, he's forced into a hopeless situation. On his back, he carries the multiple ancestors before him who fought for Jaya, being made to keep the idea of their home alive. On his hands is the blood of his tribe, not a single person of Shandia free from the war, and he's stuck in a limbo of not being allowed to give up. This is why Wiper was so aggressive in his ways of war, why he was ready to die or permanently destroy his body for Jaya, and why he was stubborn in continuing the fight. I personally was shocked at the introduction of the Shandia tribe and the meaning of their story. After all, colonization is not a light topic to touch upon, and the suffering of generations due to the effects was a chilling look into reality. With the majority of their people wiped out, Wiper was forced to fight an uphill battle, with no home and no acceptance for his tribe. All he knows is the importance of getting the Golden Bell back prioritizes all, for the sake of Calgara, the man whose will he has been forced to inherit. And right beneath him, Noland's ancestor is doing exactly the same. And of course, we cannot talk about Skypiea without talking about Noland and Calgara. There is something deeply unfathomable about the story of Noland and Calgara. One of the first reasons being because of the discovery that Noland truly had existed and found a city of gold, and the other being the connection these two shared that quite literally reached over the seas and time. Their relationship started as enemies, with Calgara being a bloodthirsty hunter who took joy in seeing Noland slowly die. Of course, we understand now that this is due to the previous violent pirates and explorers who tried to ruin their golden city. But the two didn't have that understanding of each other. Perhaps it was Noland's kind words. Perhaps it was a village boy being cured of his illness. Or perhaps it was a sudden bond they shared. But Calgara eventually sees Noland for the caring man he is, and without a second thought, cuts the head of the snake Calgara calls God.
答えを言え。俺は今何を倒した？蛇だ。違う。俺は今戒律を破り神を倒したんだ。
Already, in both a literal and metaphorical sense, Calgara has killed God due to the faith he has in Noland, and the idea of a fake God continues to be pushed through this story. I do not believe that this is One Piece trying to force the idea that the faith others have is wrong, but is showing us a bond can be so true and trusting that one will even smite God for it, which is really romantic for some reason. With mixed feelings, Calgara allows Noland to help his people, and the bond between them only grows as Calgara realizes he made the right choice to save Noland's life. We even get multiple lines of how Noland and Calgara understand each other like no other, of how the Skypiea tribe has never seen Calgara so carefree and happy, and how there must be an understanding between them that no one else can fathom. Unfortunately, with a later misunderstanding of the Skypiea's sacred ground being ruined, Calgara ostracizes Noland and his crew in a fit of rage. Noland does not speak back, aware that he has done the unthinkable, and is prepared to sail with this relationship torn. But thanks to Calgara's daughter, we find Noland was, once again, only doing what he believed was right to help the tribe of Skypiea. With heavy regret, the Skypiea tribe ring the bell for Noland to hear, informing him of their remorse. And with that, we get what I think is one of the most tear-jerking scenes in One Piece, as Calgara yells Noland his apologies.
この地で俺はお前を待っている。ここでずっと鐘を鳴らし続ける。また来る日のお前の船が海で迷わないように、嵐の中でもこの島を見失わないように鐘を鳴らして君を待つ。
Finally, this flashback ends with Jaya being lifted into the sky, and Noland being put to death for lying about an island of gold. But being the kind man he is, Noland's last thoughts show no regret for his own life. Noland instead wishes for the safety of Calgara, and in a heartbreaking parallel, Calgara wishes for Noland to find him once more, the golden bell being a symbol of their wondrous bond. And for the rest of his life, Calgara fights to keep the bell ringing, because all he wants is for the man who he shared a connection with like no one else to find him and his tribe again. It's tragic, and it's Oda practically flexing the emotional depth his writing holds that sometimes feels like no other. Now, why is this important for us to see and know in terms of One Piece? Well, building the island of Skypiea aside, this is an example of showing One Piece's grander theme, which is inheriting the wills of those before you. Alabasta was honestly somewhat lacking in this idea, but Skypiea goes in full force. After all, most members of the Straw Hats have inherited the will of those before them, whether knowingly or not, and as such, that will has turned into their own. Skypiea is showing us this is not just limited to the Straw Hat Pirates, and the will to dream within this world is endless and unfathomable. Blackbeard even opens this idea by saying a man's dream will never die.
海賊が夢を見る時代が終わるって？え？おい！なんだ？人の夢は終わらねえ！
And what the hell was Skypiea all about? It was about the dreams of the Skypiea tribe, the dreams of Wiper and Calgara, and the dreams of Cricket and Noland. But on top of that, Skypiea is an example that relationships can indeed span over time and space itself. The connection Calgara and Noland shared was so powerful that it influenced people around and connected to them 400 years into the future. Really think about that. Is that not something that just makes you want to hold yourself and cry? Is that not something so excruciatingly beautiful? As an arc, Skypiea is showing us the endless dreams of man, reaching land and sky, with the profound connections people share that are unknown even to them. It's why Skypiea wasn't just a story of taking down Enel, beating the big bad, and freeing those caged by his dictatorship, but the struggles of will and impossible dreams being reached due to the bonds that are shared. In this place in the sky, we are watching someone else's centuries of dreaming come to fruition, and on land, the dreams of another have been met as well. And these dreams were ignited because of how much Calgara and Noland cared about each other. The Golden Bell was the end goal, not just to free the damned, but to set us alight with hope. With all the struggle and strife we see, with how much pain everyone had gone through in this arc, that bell is nothing short of the sound of miracles. And most importantly, this bell is the sound of love.
400年間ずっと黄金鏡は空にあったんだ。
It gives me goosebumps like nothing else, because this entire scene and arc finale embodies the heart of One Piece. Something that I think gets forgotten about or just overlooked is what One Piece is meant to be. This series is meant to be an adventure fantasy, and One Piece is masterful at embodying both the adventure and the fantasy. But on top of that, One Piece is about the ties we share, whether it be by fate or mere coincidence. Skypiea, in my opinion, is the ultimate romance arc. It shows the romance of this mysterious world, the romance of fairy tales, and the romance of two guys from 400 years ago. I'm just saying, why were Noland's last thoughts of Calgara and not his own wife and kids suspicious? Skypiea is an arc that embodies the grand dreams and connections in the world of One Piece, especially between the Straw Hats. It hammers in how mystifying this world is, and how the impossible can become possible. After all, the Sky Island was only ever a fable told in a story of Noland the Liar. And through this arc, Oda is showing us even the most outrageous of fantasies can come true. And more than that, Oda is showing us that love is so wonderful and astounding it fills this entire universe. I feel I need to state I am not talking in a strictly romantic sense, but overall the care everyone shares, no matter how long or short they've known each other. Skypiea is truly the early beginnings of One Piece's beating heart. It's an arc that makes it be known Luffy's will is as strong as it is due to the relationships he has. And just like Calgara, Luffy defeated a version of God due to the bonds he'd found. I feel the reason Skypiea is skipped is because there's this notion that a better arc is coming up, and it holds a lot more. This arc being Water 7, which I have previously stated is sometimes hailed as One Piece's best arc. But when you skip Skypiea, you miss these important lessons of friendship and family. You miss these ideas of the will to dream, and you completely miss the significance love has in this world. This is Robin's first adventure with the Straw Hats, and it is nothing but fitting that her first adventure be the importance of relationship and love. Because when we go to Water 7, we discover her story is all about the family she has found on the ocean. And Skypiea has taught us it doesn't matter how short their time together was, because she has found a love that reaches across the seas itself. Skypiea is also like no other arc in terms of the fantasy it brings, because island issues aside, what could possibly be more romantic and miraculous than a sea of clouds? Upon seeing the heavenly imagery, the Straw Hats' amazement and joy is infectious, and we get a scene between Usopp and Luffy that's one of my personal favorites.
おい、大丈夫か？ストップ。
この島ふかふか雲でできてんのか？
ふかふかだな。ふかふかだ。上陸だ。
I must say, I'm not really a believer of fables myself, but Skypiea certainly turns me into a dreamer, with it never failing to warm my soul for showing just how grand a connection can be, with how a bond so powerful will stand the test of time, no matter the odds and no matter the gods. And with that, thanks for watching. It hurts me how much people either don't care for or straight up skip Skypiea, and I really wanted to provide insight for not only its importance, but why it's one of my personal favorites. I truly don't believe there is a bad arc in One Piece, but Skypiea really gets beaten down a lot. I hope this video opened up different ideas for you guys, and if it did, let me know. I'd love to hear them. Just a quick reminder that I do have a Patreon, and if you would like to support me there, I'd really appreciate it. However, I know not everyone can support me in that way, and watching and sharing these videos does more than you can imagine for me. If there's anything you'd like to see me cover, One Piece or otherwise, please let me know, and I'll see you in whatever I make next. See ya!